see how this works. Um, yeah, how about that? That's kind of something. Go on ahead, like, comment, share, whatever, and go on over. What's going on, Bruce? Going over to. Whoa, we're shooting up in viewers. Jesus Christ, is this a? I guess we better talk about this. We better spend some time talking about this. All right, so I got a YouTube channel. Okay, for those of you all, what's going on, Tenderoni? What's going on, Razim Fredericks? That is a crazy name, dude, for real. Especially given your last page. What's going on, Franny? How you doing? Sam Williams, what's going on? I'm new to this YouTube thing. You said you agree with all my videos. Well, thank you, Matthew. I'm sure there might be a video sometime in the near future where you're gonna be like, I don't like that. I don't like that he said that. What's going on? All right, so for those of you all who are watching me, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I got a YouTube channel. I've always had it. I just never really. So I'm going live on both the YouTube channel and the Facebook. It's YouTube. It's Mike B. Educate Me. Mike B. So there it is. You can go on over there to subscribe to that page. I'm also going to be going on YouTube as well. So I'm going to be going live from both pages. What's going on? Class coming in. And I got a slew of chains they would love to get to. So what's going on, Nancy? How are you? Let's talk about it. You know, I was curious about a couple things. Policing in Black Chicago. Now, I don't want to know in Chicago, period, because you can see what's on the news, you can see what's around, stuff like that. But I want to look at policing in Black Chicago. And why do I want to talk about that? Why do I say anything about that? Well, I say something about that because once I'm stuck on that issue, I'm stuck on that issue, and I'm probably not gonna let up until. And you can contact me, Jay. We'll talk. Once I'm stuck on an issue, I'm stuck on that issue, and I'm not gonna let up until I decide to let up. And of course, I'm still talking about the shooting of Harith Augustus, black male, on 71st Street and Chappelle in Chicago's southeast side, the South Shore neighborhood, who was shot by Chicago police after a stop that I feel, you know, the shooting. We can talk about whether or not that's justified. That's another part. But I tend to look at the seed planted that led to the shooting, and I think that the stop was wrong. I really do. I know you don't know anything about it, so you can't speak on it. I understand that. But I think that the stop was wrong. It should have never happened. Neither here nor there. But that's not the topic of this conversation, because those of you all who have watched me. But I do want to talk about policing in Black Chicago. And I was thinking about something today. My mind has been in deep thought about a lot of things and different tangents and different, you know, led up to the shooting. Prior to that, he was a Chicago police superintendent. Okay. And as the Chicago police superintendent, let me see, I got a minute before I let them in. But as I began to notice some things, and it was prior to the current superintendent that we have now, Eddie Johnson. Okay, what's going on, Michael? How you doing? Superintendent Gary McCarthy came from the city of New York. Actually, the city of New. Now he came from the city of Newark, director of police. Prior to that, he spent years and years in the city of New York, raising to the level, I believe, of deputy commissioner for operations or something to that effect in New York. So he is a native New Yorker. And then he came to Chicago after, if I'm not correct, yeah, Phil Klein retired as superintendent. Terry Hilliard, who was the previous superintendent prior to Klein, came in as the interim superintendent, and then Gary McCarthy became the superintendent. I want you to notice that there was a difference in patrol in Black Chicago. So the focus is Black Chicago. What are we talking about? Your Auburn Greshams, your Inglewoods, your Austins, your New Cities, Washington Heights, those did Pill Hill, those neighborhoods in Chicago. There was a difference in policing. Now, my business is in Auburn Gresham, okay? 79th and Normal, less than a mile from the 6th District Police Station on 78th and Halsted. You know, I begin to see a difference in policing in Black Chicago because I saw more officers. Now, mind you, I'm born and raised in the city of Chicago. I am from Chicago. I've been different parts of the world. Okay. But I came back, came back to the suburbs and then ended up eventually back in Chicago. And so I'm an observer. I observe everything. And so when you look at policing, okay, now, as we see now, it is typically the case that you see police primarily in what? Vehicles. That's right. You primarily see them in vehicles all the time. If they no, the case, sit here and you're gonna freaking listen or get off my channel. Now, you cut to the chase or cut to the case. But I seen them passing by in vehicles. And so that's trouble, foot patrols, things like that should take place, but it doesn't. And so when Gary McCarthy became superintendent, let me tell you about one incident or one thing that he did that won me over. And I'm not a Chicago cop, never been a Chicago cop, even though I have been a police officer. But I've worked with both good bosses as chief, with chiefs and sergeants and lieutenants. And I've worked with shitty bosses, chiefs, sergeants, and lieutenants. Okay. Gary McCarthy won me over as a good boss when I saw him at the NATO summit, when he was out there with the troops. All the protests and the fighting and the stuff that was going on, he was boots on the ground. Now, I don't know if these were photo ops. I'd hate to think so, but he was out there boots on the ground. And so for a boss of a third largest city, arguably second largest police department, I want to say, he was out there boots on the ground, fighting with the cops, trying to make arrests with the cops, and had his command staff out in Chicago. I remember what Gary McCarthy did prior to the Laquan McDonald shooting. See, people talk about, oh yeah, we had the same shitty bosses, Luis. I know you know what I'm talking about, okay? But Gary McCarthy prior to Laquan McDonald. And I remember seeing, 3 minutes, Steven, you gotta go. Fuck off, really. I'm getting tired of you. All right, here we go. That's done. Now, I remember looking outside of this business, and I remember seeing police officers on foot. That's what I remember seeing. They walked from the district. They walked in the streets. They walked in the neighborhoods, and they didn't have baseball caps. But they didn't wear them. They actually wore their service caps, the caps you graduate with, your uniform, your dress caps. And the first thing I thought was, that's a New York thing, because that's what the cops in. So they were able to walk up on people committing crimes. They were able to have a connection with the people on the ground, weren't driving past. Oh, there's a black guy. Oh, there's this. So there's that. No, you were face to face. You were face to face. And right after the Laquan McDonald situation, matter of fact, where it was raining outside, it was pouring raining, and the officers were coming from the 6th district on bike patrol, like 6 of them. It was raining real hard. I let them come right over here and even let them come inside to because they were out, boots on the ground. Right now, after Laquan McDonald, Gary was Emmanuel's sacrificial lamb. And then Eddie Johnson became superintendent. Emphasis on that. A black man Guess what? Because of all the uproar with Laquan, which was legitimate reason to be mad because of the withholding of that tape. Foot patrols, gone. Only in the better. So when you look at stuff like that, I'm not surprised when you go to 71st Street and why they did not know that Harith Augustus was not a drug dealer, but he was a staple in the community over there as a barber. And from what I understood, an owner of not one, but two shops. I don't know. This is what was said. But when you take away the foot patrol, the getting down to the nitty gritty of learning about the people you serve. See, you go on TV and you talk about, well, we're committed to stopping the drugs and we're committed to getting guns off the streets and the crimes and the this and the violence and the that. Wait a minute, black man. How do you stand on your pedestal and take away the very thing that helps police officers connect to the community in order to get your asses out of your cars and walk the freaking street? But Mike, you got to understand, they don't like us anymore and we're targets. This is the job you took. Can't rotate the phone. Sorry, hit the table. This is the job you took. So don't tell me about your being afraid. I don't want to hear that shit. Don't tell me about your being afraid. You took the job. I don't want to hear it. And so I'm not surprised because of the disconnect. But you want the black folks to understand, well, you got to understand when somebody's pointing a gun, it's either us or them. You got to understand. You want that level of understanding. This. Is there a general order prohibiting you from foot patrol? I don't need a boss to tell me walk the streets. I'm just gonna get out my car and just walk the streets, right? I'm gonna be the change that I want to see. They want to see a good cop. Go out there and connect with them. Don't tell me that, well, I'm white, they're going to automatically assume I'm racist. Sure, until you get out of that car and make the connect. Oh, that's Officer Tim Johnson. He cool, man. He a cool white guy. Hey, he about his business, but he cool. But you're scared. It brings validity to the belief by some black folk, or most, in the community that they're afraid of us. They fear us. And so that's why you had the young white police officer, we'll just call her Officer Becky, her in that hand white knuckling that Glock. Why is that? I don't want to call her a racist. We'll call her afraid. She's a rookie. She doesn't understand, right? But why is she not being mentored? That's the difference between law enforcement and a few other occupations, arguably a lot of other occupations. You hear the taglines. We run to the danger that you guys run away from. Well, if that's the case, truthfully, then sign and put yourself in the element where you really get to learn whom you're policing. I'm just saying. And that's part of the problem that led to a Harith Augustus. They didn't say he was a negative past. They didn't say he was a gangbanger. It's just a black guy in a loose shirt with a bulge. No probable cause to stop him at all. No reasonable suspicion pursuant to Terry and the concealed a lot of law. And so what was the distinction? How did you not know this? And some of you all are saying mounted police, the freaking South Shore Cultural Center is the house where the mounted patrol keep their police horses on the street. Come on. Come on. At some point in time, How is it that you want other people to abide by Chapter 720 ILCS 5, 31.1, you're not allowed to resist arrest. 720 ILCS 5, Section 7-7, you're not allowed to use force in that resistance, but you can't comply with the provisions of Terry versus Ohio, Miranda versus Arizona, Florida versus JL. How is that? And yes, Kim, I think they did not have a reason to check and see if he had a concealed carry license. There must be a lawful stop that places you in the right of access to then ask that question. You can't just walk up to someone and, hey, let me see your papers. What did I to be free? Searches and seizures unless you suspect me of doing something wrong and in a concealed carry state. A bulge does not exhibit me doing something wrong, for I could be a licensee and I'm doing something right. We're not required to wear license. A license inspection would reveal such a thing, but you got to get to that. You can't jump that. And a lot of you people on here who watch me are using justify the means argument. The ends justify the means. Well, Mike, he did have a gun now, and he did turn around and try to spin. So the pop. Well, there you go. Are you freaking serious? Are you serious? That means then why do we have the law? The law sets apart and sets into place procedures that must be followed. And as a law enforcer, when you don't follow the very same thing that you expect others to follow, for no one more than you should know the law. Florida versus JL. That's the United States Supreme Court case in 2000, where the Florida State Supreme Court and the United States Supreme Court said a bulge or a mere anonymous tip, yeah, okay, maybe that's not enough. You need a little bit more. Need a little bit more. Yeah, I know, Renee, he reached for his gun, but guess what? Again, you guys want to look at the video, which is the middle to the end instead of the beginning. You want to look at the fact that the house burned down. Well, how did the house burn down? And that's the problem that's not being. How did you not know that this barber, Pennsylvania versus Smith, how did you about him because of your disconnect with the community? He's cool. He's not in the gang. He's not a gangbanger. We talked and we had a lot of great conversations, and it's a good man. Other folks we can go on ahead and mess with. How many are on 71st Street right now that went ignored? Is of real criminals went ignored. Oh, Mike, we don't want to do stops because we have to do a 3-page report every time we do a simple stop. That's your job. What do you want? What do you want? I got to get out of here. I got people I got to teach. I just wanted to drop this in your lap. What happened in Chicago where the police, and I'm not going to accuse them all, that is extremely wrong, but there are certain police officers on the Chicago Police Department that are afraid of black folks because you will not use the ground to connect with the community that you serve. You fear them because you don't understand them, and you won't understand them because you won't get your ass out of the freaking car. You gotta wait till you get a freaking direct order to sit there, and that's afraid. For if you get outside of your box, that is the patrol car, you might learn that there are a lot of things that black folks have in common